welcome to SteamPunk. This is your host, SteamPunk Bob, and today we're deploying with the Steam Marines. This game is roguelike influenced, so if you don't know what that means, report to this link for a briefing. Also, this game footage and impressions are based on early access, specifically build V0.8.4a, so things may change somewhat by the time you get your hands on it, especially minor balance tweaks. The broad strokes should all be the same, though. Okay, so now that everyone knows basic roguelike ideas, let's get started with Steam Marines. Steam Marines is a turn-based tactical combat game where SteamPunk Bob, or due to character limitations, Steam Led Ob, wakes from cryosleep alongside the Marx Brothers to start kicking ass.
Now that you're Secretary of War, what kind of an army do you think we ought to have?
Well, I tell you what I think. I think we should have a standing army.
Why should we have a standing army?
Because then we save money on chairs.
Steam Marines is a bit of a weird concept. The title and store page imply it's a steampunk game, but I'm not sure I've seen any steampunk stuff that goes into space. Admittedly, this could be a lack of exposure to the genre, but I haven't seen any top hats, piles of coal, superfluous gears, or steam vents. I'm willing to let the power armor slip by because I have seen steampunk power armor. On the other hand, this power armor looks sleek compared to the bulk of steampunk technology I've ever seen. Honestly, a lot of this game's visual design reminds me of a retro future style, like Fallout. The robots aren't puffing out steam, the power armor is similarly designed, my ability to kick out the walls and windows without any repercussions fits with Fallout's somewhat unfettered relationship with physics. On the other hand, there's some sort of vents on the ground. They could be steam vents, but they're right in the middle of the floor where everybody's walking, so I thought they were just environmental control systems. There's also these piston things that might be some sort of steam thing. I don't know. It just doesn't feel so much like a steampunk spaceship as one that would be built by somebody in the Fallout universe to me. Your goal in each floor is to find the elevator to the next floor. You can search the floor freely, aiming to find items, credits, stores to use those credits at, and enemies in compromised locations so you can annihilate them without taking damage. The gameplay reminds me of XCOM, which is a good thing. There isn't any base management stuff, but the game feels somewhat like a blend of XCOM and Fallout. On the Fallout side, you use action points, there's no cover system, but the game is entirely about covering your own troops, making a safe advance, properly flanking the enemy, and destroying them with overwhelming force, which feels very XCOM to me. In something that fixes a feature I disliked about the most recent XCOM game, you decide what classes you want for your squad of starting Marines. I personally am the leader class, armed with a shotgun and hopefully keeping robots from hurting my troops. Groucho is my scout, quick on his feet, deadly with a long rifle. Harpo and Carl are both the support class, which is a slightly deceiving name, as they mean support fire, so they have heavy machine guns, not medkits. I don't personally use a grenadier because I always end up blowing my own legs off, but that's an option and probably a good one. This is a roguelike inspired game though, so once a Marine goes down, he's gone.
Your Excellency, we can't hold out much longer. We must have help.
Okay, yes, when you get to a new floor, you have some sort of chance to find a replacement Marine if you've lost one. I don't know what factors go into deciding what you get or if a Marine is there at all. I assume as you have fewer men left, you get higher chances for reinforcements, but I don't know. I also don't know how the class gets chosen for the new guy. I had one game where I had at least 6 support class Marines. And another thing I don't know the mechanics behind, I don't know how the stats get rolled up for your new soldiers, but it seems like they always suck. Not just because they have no experience points, it just feels like their base stats seem lower. One thing that bugs me, there don't always seem to be doors from where you start the floor to the elevator. Did the crew of this ship have to kick down walls to get to work every day? Or are our Marines just too manly to pay attention to where the doors are? The Marines' dialogue is also rather well written. There's a little conversation between your squad as they awaken from cryosleep at the start of a new game, and there's several different ones which make me chuckle every time I see a new one. The other dialogue isn't as funny, but that's because it's more functional, i.e. it's stuff like, "I see a bad guy," and "enemy in range." There's still variation in these reactive lines, but as far as I've seen, the only time the Marx Brothers have a conversation is at the start of a new game. Presumably because that's the only time the game knows you have more than one Marine alive. The graphics are pretty good, I think. I have one gripe, though. The isometric perspective sometimes trips me up. It might be a problem with the way I see things, but I sometimes have a problem where I think I'm lined up with a door, then accidentally order Groucho to kick down the wall next to it. Other than that, though, the graphics are functional and varied. Not only are our different classes of Marines different colors, but their helmets actually have different looking facial expressions on them. I do have a couple of minor interface gripes, though. One, when I use Tab to cycle through my Marines, it takes me through them all in order. Harpo has no AP left. I can give him absolutely no orders, so why not just jump from Groucho to Carl? Another problem that I assume is a bug that'll get squashed in a later build, sometimes I seem to basically lose control of my squad. Like, the game doesn't accept certain buttons as input. Sometimes my arrow keys don't feel like communicating with the Steam Marines, so I have to move via clicking. Yes, game, I know I press Z to fire. I'm pressing Z. There's ammo in my gun. Why is it not firing?
Look at them run. Now they know they've been in a war.
The inevitable comparison, at least for me, is to XCOM Enemy Unknown. That may not be a fair comparison, given that Enemy Unknown is a big-budget blockbuster title, but it's where my mind wanders. Simply put, Steam Marines is good, but not great. It has adequate tactical combat, but I don't feel as emotionally invested in my Steam Marines as I do in my XCOM soldiers. However, Steam Marines is fun. Steam Marines does have tactical decisions to weigh. In its price bracket, it's one of the better games based on careful, methodical tactics. Anyway, this is SteamPunk Bob, out.
You're a brave man. Go and break through the lines. And remember, while you're out there risking life and limb through shot and shell, we'll be in here thinking what a sucker you are.